Hello, welcome to Master Your Market. I'm Chris Ashmore, and question today is, how do you stand out in a crowded market? I mean, goodness gracious, isn't that the biggest question that we always want answered in business? Well, don't fall into the trap of claiming to be number one. That's according to today's guest, Roy Osing. Roy is the author of the Be Different or Be Dead book and series of books. He took a Canadian telco from startup to $1 billion in sales. He's a good mate of mine. He's also a fellow board member of the business association that I'm also on. And he's very passionate about business, and he gives a ton of good advice. I think you'll get a lot out of this episode. Well, Roy Osing, firstly, welcome. I suppose big question to start with. What's the biggest mistake people make in marketing, would you say?
First of all, delighted to be here, Chris. I would say the biggest mistake that in my experience that I see is the failure of marketing to differentiate the way they should. Okay, marketing's job should be to create differences between themselves and their competition in the marketplace. And we'll get into this later a little bit, but I find that it's not being done very well. So that's the overall, but there are some other sort of smaller points in the same question. Besides differentiation, there is still way too much attention being paid to price. Okay, competition, competing on the basis of price, constantly forcing prices down through the guises of bundling, where you put a bunch of products together and discount them all, which is intellectually dishonest in my opinion. It's just another way of trying to reduce prices and be competitive. Marketing today still remains to be really, really focused on what people need. And my work now is all about what people crave, not what they need, because the needs-based marketing has got so much competition in it right now. Look at everybody basically has their needs satisfied. Okay, that's a generalization, but it's pretty true. And so now the challenge for marketers is to find a sweet spot, find the juice where they can in fact dominate or be different or differentiate themselves. And it's all in the space of cravings. And craving is what people lust for, what they desire, right? What they passionately believe in. It's all a feelings-based definition, if you will. It's not that I need internet service, right? It's that I need internet service, but that's not what I'm going to buy on. I'm going to buy on how I feel about an organization, how they treat me, okay, what they provide me over and above, the basic stuff that they offer. And marketing right now is still in the needs-based. They will say they're in the experiential base, but they're not. Okay, they're not. They're still trying to figure out a way to provide a low price to what people need. And that's a huge problem, because to the organization, it's not being strategic. They're not being strategic. And marketing's role is to be an arm, a mechanism of the organization's strategy. So that's a huge piece. The other thing I will say is, look at acquiring customers and new customer marketing is sexy. Right? Everybody loves to do it, right? Retention marketing, okay, is hard, and it's not very sexy, right? It's tough work in the trenches trying to retain customers. And so I find that there's way too much emphasis being given on attracting new customers, when in fact, what we should be doing is we should be doing everything we can to hold on to those loyal customers we have. Those are our bread and butter, and so we should be doing everything to protect them and hold them. The last thing I will say to you is marketing continues not to be very targeted in their efforts. Again, we'll pick up on this, but the effectiveness, the productivity of marketing is kind of unleashed when in fact the efforts are targeted to a very specific customer group or market segment, okay, where very specific value propositions can be put forward and results can be measured back. Don't try to appeal to the whole market. You can't be all things to all people. And I know that everybody talks that way, but look at Chris, everybody continues to do it. right? Sure, we track behavior on a website in terms of what they use, et cetera, et cetera. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about before the fact, from a strategic point of view. Be really clear on who you're trying to target. And at the moment, it's a problem. So differentiation, needs-based stuff, customer acquisition as opposed to retention, and not doing a very good job of targeting and continuing to focus on price would be the main problem areas that I see today in today's marketing.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned, so you've got target people, give them what they crave, not what they need. Retention versus getting new sales. But if you're a small business owner, you're just starting out, for example, or a business coach or a thought leader, you're just starting out, you need new business, let alone retaining them. How do you start? How do you get the word out in that crowded market?
Yeah, so the challenge of standing out and carrying that position is basically your end game is to be the only one that does what you do. Okay, you're not trying to be better, you're not trying to be best, you're trying to be the only one that does what you do, and that requires a strategy. Okay, you're right. When a business starts out, they need to acquire, but my point is, quite soon thereafter, they don't lose that. They keep that emphasis on acquisition, and they forget about and take for granted the customers that they've already got. And that's deadly from a marketing point of view. So the issue is, how do you stand out? You need a strategy that defines the context of what you're trying to achieve. Standing out is not a tactic. Okay, it's a strategy that has a context, a number of strategic imperatives. And so, I had to create what I call the only statement as my way to differentiate. You're not trying to be the best. You're not trying to be better. You're not trying to be the market leader. You're trying to be the only ones that do what you do. In order to do that, though...
What's wrong with being the best? If you're the best...
Well, first of all, the best doesn't mean anything to a customer, because there are so many people claiming to be the best, Chris, that they're all the same. And it's claptrap. It can't be measured. Okay, it's aspirational. And listen, my friend, it is narcissistic, because it's your view of you. It's not the market's view of you. It's not customers' view of you. It's your view of you. It's what I would call a chest thumper. That's what you're doing. When you say you're best and you're better and you're number one, you're thumping your chest. It's, in a male world, testosterone exhibited. Never said that before. That's a good one. You can use that one. But it's true. It's absolutely true. And yet, look at, most textbooks you read around what they call so-called unique selling propositions, it's all about that. It's about superlatives as opposed to comparatives. What the only statement does, it cuts through that, and it answers the question, Mr. Customer, you should do business with me because I'm the only one that does something. Not because I'm better than the person next door, not because I'm market leader, which, again, is nothing but narcissism expressed, because it cannot be proven. It's your view of you, and shame on you for actually doing that. Marketing shouldn't be about that. It should be about clarity, granularity of a value proposition, not fog. And that's what that is, unfortunately. I work with clients in doing this. We can create, can I give you an example of an only statement?
I was going to say, can you give it? Yeah, yes, please.
So this is a company in Eastern Canada that came to me, and they thought they were in the boat selling business, all right? So what they did is they sold boats to boat dealers. And they said to me, Roy, I'm not happy with the growth I've got. Can you help me out? And so I said, fine, I'm going to take you through my strategic game planning process, okay, which is basically a process where we answer 3 questions and we basically get the strategy. So we went through the process and we got to the differentiation piece, which is answering the question, how am I going to compete and win? And that's where you create the only statement. And they said to me, we're not special at anything, Roy. We don't know how to do this. And I said, fine, let's just work with this. So we worked with it. And the question I asked them is, okay, take your typical boat dealer. Okay, what keeps them awake at night? Okay, what makes them lose sleep? A lot of conversation, and the answer finally came up, What they worry about is the ability to stay in business and grow their business. That's what keeps them awake at night. So I said, okay, do you think if we could play into that you would be the only ones that do what you do, if you could help them? Are there other boat dealers helping them? Nope. I said, okay, let's play into that sweet spot. So we came up with the following only statement. Marine Co. is the only complete service partner committed to delivering solutions to grow a boat dealer's business. So that's the only statement. So what we ended up doing, Chris, is we reframed their business into a spot, right? A magic place where, in fact, they are the only ones who do this. They're in the business development business for boat dealers, and there's nobody else in that space, right? So they go out, when we landed on this, their eyes just like, oh my God, I can't believe that. I get goosebumps just thinking about it. They were mesmerized by the notion that they said to me, well, hang on a sec, we don't have the competencies to do this. I said, I know. Go get them. Invest in the competencies you need to be in the delivering solutions to grow a boat dealer's business. That's the business you're in.
Yep.
And that was several months ago. This has lit them up. So they're not the best. They're not number one. They might be in revenue eventually as a metric to define success, but as a competitive claim, that's not the business they're in. The business they're in is to be the only ones that do what they do. And so this is absolutely powerful work. And the disappointing thing to me is that I will call it the power of the textbook is so strong that people are reluctant to move off the inertia of tradition and try some of this stuff out. Hell, man, I took a startup to $1 billion in annual sales. It works. It really does work, okay? That's the proof point.
And it takes away the focus that a lot of business owners have on the actual product, the widget that we make or the service that we provide. It's more than that. It's stepping back and looking at what it means to the customer or to the client, not the actual widget itself, what that is, but what it means behind it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, there's too much focus on flogging the thing as opposed to delivering value and delivering benefits in a unique way that the customer, craves and cares about. So you're absolutely right. And marketers typically, okay, I'm going to take the product and I'm going to use a marketing tactic, right, whether it be through social media, blah, 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 and I'm going to blow it out there. I'm going to push it at the marketplace. Well, nobody likes to have things pushed at them. What we like is we like to have our feelings aroused when somebody delivers value to us. And yet that whole notion is completely foreign, okay, to traditional marketing and the way it's being done today. And we need to make the shift over there. The only statement talks about value. It doesn't talk about flogging iron or any sort of products and service. It's about telling a story in a compelling way that makes somebody believe that they're getting more than what they coveted, more than what they desired. That's the role of the marketer. And Seth Godin talks about this all the time. Marketers are storytellers. Okay, it's a story. It's not a flogging tactic. The story is a metaphor that he uses to actually communicate value. But we need to take it a step further. It's not just, Chris, about talking about value. It's talking about value that only Chris Ashmore provides and delivers. Nobody else. That's the holy grail. That's what we need to covet. It cannot stop at just providing a solution to a problem. Everybody's in that game. It's providing the only solution to the problem, right? That's the coveted. That's the sweet spot. That's the juice that marketing needs to get, I think, so much better at. We're way behind, to be honest.
Well, can we move on to retaining customers and clients? And as you said before, there's so much effort and emphasis on leaders to get the sale, and that's the sexy end of doing business, really, is to get them to sign on the dotted line, but then they're forgotten about, and then the next shiny thing comes along. Whereas we all know that the lifetime value of a customer or a client can be quite lucrative. So how do you create that client loyalty, Roy, and how do you get them to refer others to you?
Well, okay, first things first. Leaders have got to define and declare as part of their strategic game plan that there's nothing more important than retaining current customers. Okay, in other words, customer loyalty is the number one strategy. I mean, a lot of the reasons why marketeers do what they do is because the marketing tactic, kind of like playbook, is so strong that they don't have that guidance from leadership to say, wait a minute, okay, out of every hour of your day when you're here, you're going to be fussing with creating and finding ways of keeping our customers here. Now, part of it is the whole issue of referrals, etc., because that's the cheapest marketing there is out there. I mean, you're going to refer me, you're going to talk me up, it's not costing me anything. And so, there's not enough kind of like energy placed on that. But loyalty has got to have a leadership anchor. If leaders aren't expressing that as a strategic imperative, it simply won't happen because the marketer will follow marketing 101, right? Kind of tactics and techniques. Once we understand that it's important, there's two things that we need to do. We need to focus on the who, focus on those customers, okay, that we need to grow our business. And it's not the market. The process that I've created forces us to look at the critical few customer group segments, right, that have the latent potential to grow the business, figure out what they crave, and then play into that. That's the source of the customer loyalty or client loyalty program. It's not about the market. It's about the who you intend to serve, who has the potential to grow the business. And so we need to figure that out, and we need to define it, and we need to also discover what they crave. There is no feelings research being done in marketing today, Chris. And yet if you want to play the cravings game, you better be in the feelings research business. What does Chris feel? I want to understand. Now, you don't come up and say, Chris, how you feeling? I'm not a shrink or a psychologist, but there's a way to have a conversation and discover what are the sorts of things that you feel strongly about. And I'm listening like this, man. I'm listening very, very intently because sooner or later I'm going to get a nugget that makes sense to me and resonates with my value proposition, and I'm going to try and use it. Or I could use it if I screw you over from a service point of view. All of that information is information that I can use to my advantage. If only I would have it as an imperative, and I would listen and I would record, okay? So the loyalty piece needs leadership, it needs focus, and it needs cravings orientation, and it needs feelings discovery, because the purchase decision, the decision to stay with you, is based on emotion. It's not based on the features and benefits of the product. It's actually kind of irrelevant because people stay with organizations. They don't stay with products, right? They buy from organizations who happen to have a value proposition. It's got a number of what I would call cool capabilities, aka products, that they can use. But they buy cultures. They buy feelings. They buy passion that is invoked in them by an organization. That's the level I want to see marketing play in.
So how do we find out about how they're feeling? Is this simply just sitting down with them and having conversation? Is it sending out a survey? Is it phone calls? How do you do it?
It's all that. It's all that. Look at, let's not complicate this, guys. Okay, determine your who, right? The who, let's suppose we have 3 customer segments, right, that you believe have the latent potential to grow your business 50% over the next 24 months, okay? Go figure out a way how to talk to them. I mean, there's all sorts of ways to do it. There are everything that you just mentioned, as well as a lot of other ways. Look, at the benefits are incredible. First of all, you discover what they feel and what they crave, and they love you for asking. That very act in and of itself, okay, is loyalty building, because what you've shown them is that you care about their opinions. You want to have them as part of your team to help you build your business. Who doesn't basically want to help other people? When it gets right down to it, if you connect, you discover so much. And so don't try and overcomplicate this. This is not a formularization, right, of bringing people together. Okay, it's injecting some humanity into your business and using marketing to help you actually exploit humanity. And I mean that in the most, endearing way, not in a negative way at all. And yet it never happens. And so we send emails out, we send texts out, right? We have FAQs on a website because we actually believe the average customer complaint exists, and it doesn't. When I get so frustrated, if I get a problem with a company, the last thing I want to do is go onto their website and check out their FAQs, because I can tell you, my friend, they will not relate to my problem at all. And the most frustrating part is there's no human being there that I can talk to. Now, am I old school? You're damn right I am. And I took a startup to $1 billion in sales. What's your point? Seriously. Doesn't happen.
That's right.
So come on, let's get back to basics. I mean, customers, the ones that are sitting there paying you every month, they need to be treated like human beings. Go talk to them. They will tell you, not in so many words, but they will tell you how they feel. They will give you hints in terms of what you need to do to keep them happy. All you need to do is listen, right? And have an organization that's open to criticism, that's open to that. And so in many ways, we're talking about a revolution in marketing culture here, Chris. That's what the name of this episode is. It's about how to create a revolution in marketing, right, to make organizations humane and keep them in business for a long time. This is sustainable marketing. Everybody talks about sustainable environments and everything. What we're talking about are actions that need to be taken to have a sustainable marketing effort in any organization. It begins with leadership and it ends with those wonderful people that pay us every month. We got to take care of them. Boring as hell, right?
You've just written the title for this podcast. Thank you. Marketing is a revolution. And look, if you do that, then you're doing it and your competitors aren't. I suppose that's the point. But should we be worried? Should we be worried about our competition?
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to have the object of being worried, it's your existing customer. You need to be worried about them leaving. You need to be worried about doing something so egregious that it causes them to leave you and tell everybody else how crummy you are, okay, and goes to a competitor. Look, at the number one concern is retention and maintaining loyal customers. Okay, the number two concern is what the bad guys are doing. So I come up with this notion that says it's more about creating barriers to customer exit than it is erecting barriers to competitive entry. And I guarantee you, Chris, take any marketing book, any book you want, except the marketing lessons from the Grateful Dead, and you will see erecting barriers to competitive entry is a basic strategic marketing principle. You will not see creating barriers to customer exit other than Be Different or Be Dead, The Audacious Unheard of Ways I Took a Startup to $1 billion in Sales. That book talks about what you really need to worry about. Because while you're busy worrying about competitors coming in, guess what you're not doing? You're not paying any attention to the people that are paying you day in and day out who need your love and attention. That's who you should be. If you do that job well, you don't have to worry about the competition. You don't. In fact, the barrier that you've erected called lack of customer exit is so strong that nobody can penetrate that. And yet we seem to think we can control competitors. You have no control over competitors. They're going to do what they're going to do to eat your lunch, okay? But the fact of the matter is you have an asset that they don't, right? What is that? That's your loyal base. Invest there, okay? Invest there. Make it so strong. That's your herd. Those are your warriors. Use them. Get referrals from them. Have them spread your word. Create more barriers to exit. And by the way, I've just defined the strategy for customer acquisition, haven't I? Okay, you want new customers? I'll tell you how to get them. You don't go after them. You get your customers to go after them and have them, in a warm, affectionate way, deliver them to you. Boom, problem solved.
Well, before we go, and you've covered a lot of it, but can we, in a nutshell, perhaps go through your thoughts of a marketing plan?
Yeah, it's kind of a synthesis of every. Thank you for allowing me to boil the ocean in the final moments. I want marketing plans to take on the objective of differentiating their organization from the bad guys. Okay, within that differentiation umbrella is a plethora, okay, of strategic imperatives that we've talked about. We've talked about focusing on the existing customer base to create those barriers to customer exit. We've talked about focusing on the who groups that have the latent potential to deliver your how big and figure out what they crave. It's like doing a right angle turn from everything we've been taught in Marketing 101, right? And it really is. And we need to encourage people, young marketing professionals, we need to encourage them to step out, take that right angle turn, go have a focus group, for God's sakes, to use the old term. Go have a meeting with 5 of your most valuable customers and just say, hey, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? Where are the things? What are the things that you need from us to enhance our value? Have those kinds of conversations. They're rich. They get you out of the office. They create sustainable, revolutionary marketing, and that's what you need, because sooner or later, you pass the baton. And if you want to have a succession plan in marketing, it needs to come from these sorts of actions, not replicating things that basically are tactical in nature. And unfortunately, marketing today has become a tactical machine, not a strategic machine. And if it's to provide value to the CEO or the president and the shareholders or employees at the company, it needs to be a strategic resource. It needs to talk about value. It needs to talk about barriers to customer exit. It needs to be talking about adding value and charging premium prices. It needs to be talking about delivering what people crave and not need, all of the sorts of things that we've just discussed. But it does indeed require a revolution. Discontinuity needs to be the weapon that we use on our own profession. Hell, I was a CMO for a number of years, I got to tell you, and this is a hard job. It's like pushing rope uphill. I fought tooth and nail to try and get simple little things like feelings researched, even listened to in an organization, okay? Because it's so out there, right? Until I was able to draw the linkage between that and growth. Because at the end of the day, marketers, if you don't perform using this stuff, you're worthless. It's not about the efficacy and the coolness and the gee whizness of what we're doing. Because at the end of the day, if you're not growing my business, you're out of here. What I'm telling you is this stuff that we've just talked about in the last while, this stuff will grow your business. And it will grow it, and you will achieve levels of performance that you haven't even imagined. And people will tap you on the shoulder and go, what are you doing? And you'll say, I'm having a revolution.
That's a great way to end, but we're not going to end just yet. I'm going to just edit this because I didn't have your book on my table. Roy, thank you so much. And before we go, I just want to hold up one of these books that I've got from you, and that's in a series of books. It's fantastic, absolutely chock-a-block full of excellent information. Be Different or Be Dead, the audacious, unheard of ways I took a startup to $1 billion in sales. Roy, for the listeners, for the viewers, where can people find you?
So my website is bedifferentorbedead.com. So come visit me. There's lots of content there. Hell, I've been doing this since 2009, so there is a lot of content on what you and I have talked about today. Check out my blog. I blog practically every week. on that, and so there's lots there. There's information on the books that you just mentioned, and so we'll take a look. Plus, I also have an email that I'd love you to know about. It's roy.osing@gmail.com, and I'm really happy to have a conversation with people on any aspect of this or anything else that they want to talk about. I mean, Chris, I've got people sending me their draft-only statements these days. It's wonderful, right? Just on a one-on-one basis, talking about, let's build the only statement. Well, you and I have had those conversations, and
I've sent you mine, yes.
I love it. And so take advantage of me. It's a revolution, my friend.
Absolutely, that's very good of you, and what's also very good is your time to speak with me, and often we speak together the last few years. Roy, thank you very much.
My pleasure, my friend, my pleasure.